Hello, this is Sandro with Galfer Braking Systems.
And I'm Robert.
Today we're going to be showing you how to install a rear ATV brake line. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take some of the plastic off, just ease of access. First thing we're going to have to do is remove all the brake fluid from the existing stock rubber hose. So the first thing you want to do is remove the cover on the rear master cylinder, the brake fluid reservoir. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be removing the brake fluid from the rear caliper nipple. Robert is going to be using an industrial style mighty vac. If you go to any store, you can purchase one of these mighty vacs for about $30, and it does the exact same thing. The mighty vac, all you're doing is you're going to plug it into the rear nipple, open up the nipple, and you're going to be sucking all the brake fluid off the system. So Robert is going to go ahead and remove all the brake fluid now.
Alright, what we're doing is the same process as what we did at the front. Was the shop vac drain tube onto the nipple. You open up the nipple and let the vac do the rest, drain the brake fluid from the master cylinder. Once you know that you drained the master cylinder completely, go ahead and close the nipple and remove the...
We've removed all the brake fluid from the system, and now we're going to be removing the stock rubber hose. So our rubber hose comes out. You probably want to save it, don't throw it away. It's always good to have it handy. And we're going to install the new Galfer brake line kit. Now your Galfer brake line kit has a lifetime warranty. So the kit should include 2 bolts, one that you're going to use at the caliper and one that you'll be using at the master cylinder, and 6 washers. You're only going to be using 4 of the washers. The other 2 washers are extra washers. Now your Galfer brake line kit always comes with a label that shows you which one is a master cylinder end and which one is a caliper end. It just makes it easier when you're putting the system back on the bike. We take pride on making sure that all our brake lines, when you receive them, they are fully pre-positioned, the fittings, so that you do not have to move anything. In some instances, though, we have found that some of the machines, as they get modified, the fittings or the master cylinders change on position, and then the length might be exactly the same, but your brake fitting heads, the fittings themselves, may not be on the right position anymore. So the Galfer fittings have a rotational system where all you have to do is put some kind of 10mm device or something in between the fittings where you are not going to damage the inside of the fitting itself. One in each side. Then you're going to pull the brake lines just like that and twist. The fitting will position itself back to whatever position you need it to go to. Again, you can do this very carefully. It will not make the system leak or anything like that. 2 pieces turning one side or the other side, and the brake line itself can be readjusted to a new position on the fittings. Because the brake lines have a lifetime warranty, if you happen to damage the brake line, it's not a problem. We'll replace it for you. Thank you.
Alright, we went ahead and installed the master cylinder brake line, the fitting and bolt, but once again you'll follow the same sequence with the bolt. You'll have your banjo bolt, washer, brake line fitting, and then washer. So you'll have a washer in between every sealing point of the fitting. Do take note that you want to use the OEM routing of the brake line using this arc to avoid any kinks or any bends, unwanted bends in the brake line and interfering with the rear shock. You'll use the Galfer provided C-clip to mount it onto the swing arm, and you'll work your way down to the rear caliper. Once again, you're going to have your bolt, washer, brake line fitting, washer, down to the caliper.
Okay, now we're going to be doing the process of bleeding the brake line. We've made sure that the brake line is bolted correctly. We follow the torque specifications that we suggested on our instructions with our brake line kit. You've got the washers and all the bolts ready to go. Make sure that the routing is proper. Make sure that nothing is binding with the brake line. and go ahead and bleed. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our master cylinder is full of brake fluid. And Robert is going to go ahead and start bringing brake fluid out from the master cylinder through the brake line down to the caliper. Again, we're using our own Mighty Vac. You can use any sort of system to bring the brake fluid down.
You want to just keep bringing brake fluid down to the caliper. Once you have brake fluid into the caliper, you will no longer need the pressure from the compressor. You'll use it as just catching the brake fluid after we're going to manually bleed and create pressure to activate the pistons.
So now we have brake fluid on the master cylinder. Brake fluid has traveled through the line down to the rear. And we go back to the same old brake system. You're going to press on the brake lever. You're going to hold on to the brake lever, and you're going to open up the rear nipple. The brake lever is going to come all the way down. You're going to close the bleeder nipple, and you're going to release pressure and pump again. 1, 2, 3. Holding down, the brake lever goes down, the bleeder nipple gets open, fluid comes out. For how long do we do the brake bleeding through the brake lever down to the nipple? For as long as we find bubbles on the rear. So in this case, our brake lever is very solid. It means we have no error in the system. If you have done all these different things and you still have problems, we always suggest just call us up at the office. We'll let you know what we think might be going wrong in that case. You'll be either talking to Robert or to myself.